We descended from the Zemu Glacier expecting silence. But overnight, the world changed, and our expedition became a flight for survival across the Himalaya. One escape would succeed. One would vanish forever.
Hey, glad you're here. Welcome to the Himalayan Journals. Here on this channel, we bring to you real stories from century old field notes. We try to keep it simple and calm here. Think of it as a documented history of the Himalayas from the early 1900s, covering stories of indigenous wisdom, epic expeditions, and groundbreaking science passed on just as they were recorded. Subscribe, zone out, binge.
It was noon when we reached Gangtok, the capital of Sikkim, coming down from the high mountains near the Zemu Glacier. The world beyond the Himalaya was silent to us, unknown and distant. The next morning, September 3rd, 1939, that silence broke. Britain was at war with Germany. For us, that meant the end of the second Sikkim Himalayan expedition. Grub, our Swiss companion, was free to return to Europe, thanks to the kindness of Mr. B.J. Gould, the political officer of Sikkim, who also arranged for our photographs and films to go with him. But for Schmatterer and me, both Germans, it meant internment. After several transfers, we arrived at Premnagar, near Dehradun, at the foot of the Mussoorie Hills, in October 1941. 2 years later, in May 1943, Schmatterer attempted his first escape with a fellow internee named Schwimmer. They followed the Jumna River, but near Rajgarhi, they were captured after 3 weeks of freedom and brought back. In March 1945, orders came for 23 of us to be moved to Deoli, a camp in Rajputana. Schmatterer was among them. The idea of being taken from the mountains was unbearable to him. He planned another escape and arranged for me to follow 3 days later. On the 27th of March, I hid myself under tins, straw, and refuse in a rubbish cart that left the camp daily. My comrades covered me, and as luck would have it, the driver noticed nothing. The gates opened. The cart rolled out. The sun was hot, and the driver soon unharnessed his buffalo and wandered away. I slipped into the jungle. 2 hours later, I met Schmatterer at the Swarnanula. That same night, we reached the Yumna through the Karasu saddle. For the next 10 days, we traveled by night, avoiding villages and patrols. Around April 14th, we arrived at Neleng in the Jadganga Valley, and by the end of the month, we stood atop the Tagala Pass, 18,000 feet high, on the frontier of Tibet and India. The winter had been harsh. From 10,000 feet upwards, the trails were buried in snow. Our tennis shoes were in tatters, our food dwindled, and another 16,000-foot pass still lay ahead. At last, we came to Pulin, a small, rough Tibetan village. The people were wary, reluctant to sell us even the little fat and sugar we needed. Then we met the Raja of Tuling and accompanied him to Par, a more welcoming place. There, we met the Dzong Pen of Shangtse, traveling with a caravan of tea to Shipki. We joined him, loading our few belongings onto a yak, and crossed barren country to a pass above the Ob River. Along the way, we passed the monastery at Ree, its old Chorten walls bright with painted scenes. From there, we moved through Chus Gompa to Sarang, over the Sutlej River, then up and across the Shiringla to Mayang. By late May, we reached Shipki, high above the Sutlej, with the ice walls of Riwo Fargyul glinting in the distance. On June 1st, we reached Mamgya, back on Indian soil, and heard that Aufschneider and Hara had crossed this same way the year before. We faced a choice: go down the Sutlej Valley and risk internment again, or attempt Tibet once more. We chose to flee. That night, we slipped away to the suspension bridge at Tashigang, and by dawn, were on the Spiti side. 4 hard days brought us to Lari, the first village in Upper Spiti. We pushed up the valley to Dankar, perched like an eagle's nest on its cliffs, and then to Kibar locals advised us to try the Sumgil route toward Gartok. So we bought a donkey and turned back. At Sumgil, we met traders bound for Trashigang, who warned us against the Bibila Pass, calling it impassable. Still, we went on. Soon, 27 armed men surrounded our camp and ordered us to return. We did. We next tried to reach Tibet from Bartyok without success, and by mid-July turned west toward Kashmir. At Lari, the villagers had moved to high pastures and food was scarce. Schmatterer stopped at Tabo to buy supplies, while I went ahead to pitch camp. From a small hill, I looked back and saw 3 figures moving in my direction. That was the last trace of him. He never arrived. After hours of waiting, I returned to Tabo. The villagers insisted he had left for Poo. I searched the route, forced my donkey through the floods, and reached Poo at noon. No one had seen him. Some women began to weep when they heard my question, and I knew then that grief had already found him. Days of searching brought no trace. Weeks later, in Tashigang, I learned the truth from a Tibetan traveler. Schmatterer had shown his money while buying food. The men of Tabo murdered him and robbed him. Later, the police of Kangra arrested several suspects, though 2 escaped. One man, Raksin Cherub, was tried and jailed. In August, I returned to Rampur and was sent back to Dehra Dun and finally to Deoli. There, I learned another version of the same story. Schmatterer had been ambushed on the bridge to Poo, struck with stones, and thrown into the Spiti River. His gold coins and watch were found later on men from Tabo. So ended the journey of Ludwig Schmatterer, mountaineer, escapee, and friend. The mountains that once gave him freedom had become his final resting place.